Welcome to episode 54 of Cyclops is Waiting for You, an X-Men the Animated Series weekly recap podcast. I am JC, and I am so fucking full of holiday cheer right now, you have no idea, Rod.
Merry Christmas. And I'm Rod. Technically, we are recording this because, I love to timestamp these episodes.
You really fucking do.
We are recording this technically on the final day of Christmas. Historically, January 6th is the last day of Christmas, and I think it was when Christmas originally was before the Gregorian calendar. That's why there's 12 days of Christmas.
You're not wrong, and I can't give you a hard time for it.
So, Merry Christmas. You're going to hear this about a week before Valentine's Day, but Merry Christmas.
About that, yeah.
Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our weekly recap podcast where we're going back and watching every single episode of the original 1992 X-Men the Animated Series in the original intended script order, building up to the release of X-Men 97, coming to Disney Plus this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We've heard not much else about it.
Yeah, we're going to have to change the intro when we get through the end of season 5 because we're going to be watching stuff other than X-Men the Animated Series.
Yeah, and just general stuff. We've been talking about some other stuff, like just like recapping things with various people involved with the show that aren't necessarily specific episodes and various themes and stuff. So
yeah, if you have ideas, tell us. What do you want from us? Aside from me to watch Pride of the X-Men, which will happen. Some quick reminders, we're a recap show about a series that came out now over 30 years ago. There are going to be spoilers, and if you don't want it spoiled for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, come back. We will do our best to avoid mentioning anything about future episodes that we have not yet covered, and we are not affiliated with Disney or Disney Plus in any way, shape, or form, so our thoughts are ours and ours alone.
Yep, and at this point, we're actively trying not to get sponsorship.
It's really easy to say we're actively trying to get or not get sponsorship once we've already killed any chance of them sponsoring us.
Yes, totally. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. Of course, make sure to follow us on all your favorite podcast services. Also, thanks to everybody that's listening to us on YouTube. That was kind of unexpected. I mean, we put it up there so we expected people to see it, but we were hopeful. Okay, hopeful, yes. It was nice to see you there. Shout out.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Right, it is. So it's
in February.
It's nice to see you on there. We're going to try to do our best to keep up with comments, and also anybody that's still on TikTok. As of right now, we're like around like 800 followers or something. There might be more, or I guess if I do bad enough, less.
Just kill it.
Yeah. And also, I am not commenting as much on there. I'll try my best. Someone complimented on how much I was commenting up until the argument started, because I don't know anything about the argument stuff.
We need to talk about the arguments after this recording, because I'll give you some shit.
Yeah. And finally, we record these episodes in batches right now, so if we're reacting to any news about the upcoming series, we'll be a few weeks behind. And right now, all we have is hearsay. The closest thing we had was the thing I mentioned last week that is like
trash.
It's on the line, but we'll see how it ages.
It's trash. Now on to the show. Today we are talking about season 4, episode 17, entitled "Have Yourself a Morlock Little Christmas." Actually, sorry, "Have Yourself a Morlock Little Xmas." They actually don't say Christ.
Yeah, well,
despite the fact that other episodes have definitely talked about Christ.
Yes, but I guess Xmas makes sense.
Yeah.
X-Men.
It aired on December 23rd of 1995, so it literally aired the day before Christmas Eve, which that's good timing.
Yeah.
And it sits at a 6.2 star rating on IMDb. In previously on X-Men, the making of an animated series, Eric Lewald does address the best laid plans and talks about how, according to the internet at the time when he wrote the book, it is one of the least liked, if not the least liked episodes.
That's weird because it wasn't bad.
I like this episode. I legitimately we've talked about it. There's certain episodes that we don't remember, especially from the later seasons when we were starting to get into like middle school and high school and not watching as much stuff. I remember watching this episode multiple times, and I always had like positive memories. Like it's not the Dark Phoenix saga, but it still was good.
I think maybe some people's problem with it is it didn't fall in line with the serialization. Like it didn't forward like any of the other big like story arcs or something, besides maybe the Morlock thing a little bit.
Right.
But like this was very in line with, if there's anybody younger that's listening that doesn't remember this era, that when these shows would have Christmas like holiday specials.
Yes.
I guess the closest thing that's still surviving is like the Treehouse of Horror on The Simpsons, where they're kind of like separated from the canon in a little bit, or at the most that they're not really concerned about the current story. They'll like take a sidestep, do a little Christmas story, and then come back into it.
Fair. Eric does acknowledge that, usually these one-off Christmas episodes usually work best when it is tied to comedies as opposed to a superhero action story. All that said, for years, Marvel would do holiday special books, and like even still around Halloween we get those, definitely. But I remember there being Christmas specials in Marvel Comics and such for a while. There was a recent Spider-Man issue that was like literally set in the month of December, came out in the month of December, and it was talking about like Christmas shopping and stuff like that. So it's not an unheard of thing within the superhero world.
There's a Spider-Man Christmas album that all the different Spider-Men from the Into the Spider-Verse movie,
right?
They all sing different Christmas songs.
I don't want to hear that ever.
Pretty hilarious. You know, the wild thing is, I forget what he sings or if he sings on it. Jake Johnson sings on there. It's hilarious. The kid who voices Miles Morales, like legitimately good. Like it's a good song and he's great. He kind of spoils the joke.
So we have a funny joke that actually kicks in right at the beginning. It starts off, especially as the music guy.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on the disconnect of the song and then the song they're singing?
Yeah, it started off with, if I remember right, Hark the Herald Angels Sing.
Yep.
And then went into like a really out of tune Deck the Halls.
Yes.
And it did it twice in the show.
So
at the very beginning, definitely.
Right, but that was absolutely the wrong song for what the background music was. Granted, they made the joke about like, oh, Scott's a terrible singer and he's the one who's ruining it. But it was also like, those aren't the right songs. So the lyrics and the melody just didn't connect in any way, shape, or form. I was so confused by that.
It's weird because if I remember right, it would have made more sense if it was like what you described, where it just like was one music and then everybody singing something different on top. It started that way, and then like the music, I think if I remember right,
the beat was different than what they were singing.
It started going into Deck the Halls as they were singing it more, and I was like, why? But it was in a different key. It was weird.
It was, you know what I attribute it the most to? Have you ever been to like a wedding or somewhere where there was a shitty DJ and they're trying to mix the beats and it's thunk, thunk instead of actually hitting the beat at the same time? That's how it felt for me. And maybe that's like my one spot of music background where I like, that's where I was identifying it. But I don't think I've ever been more triggered by Christmas music that was not Mariah Carey.
No, that somebody's gonna make that fan edit of All I Want for Christmas Is You opening up this episode.
Yeah, we need fans for that first. But we go inside and it's Scott, Jubilee, and Rogue, and they're trimming the tree, and they call Wolverine over to sing.
Can you even imagine Wolverine singing?
So here's the funny part. According to Eric Lewald, Cal Dodd, who is the voice of Wolverine, is a professional singer.
Oh.
And not only that, but he has a Christmas CD. He literally is singing like Jingle Bells as the first song on there.
I'm definitely looking this up as soon as I get home then.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But yes, so the voice of Wolverine is actually an amazing singer.
But he refuses. I guess in the isolation of this episode is just because he's grumpy.
Yes.
In connection with the previous two episodes, he has had a lot of trauma.
But also, did you notice that what they called him? They didn't call him like the Grinch. They didn't call him Grumpy. They called him Grumpus, which...
Is it Krampus?
That's what I was like, wait, is this an early reference to Krampus? Because when I was a kid, I don't remember ever hearing about Krampus.
Yeah,
like that was not until we were in like college, probably before that became like more zeitgeisty in the US.
Yeah.
But it was like the Grumpus. What else would the us be? Because there's not another thing that sounds like that now.
Unless it was like a generic, or maybe it was that it was understood in like the writers who were older than the kids, you know, and it's kind of like the Rodney Dangerfield jokes and stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. I don't think that was even meant for the kids, but like it was like, oh, were they actually making a Krampus reference? Yeah. So it was like, this was a very interesting start. It was loaded with very cool moments to the show, aside from the horrible beat mixing of the audio.
Yeah, and then Jubilee's excited because he's like, it's my first Christmas as an X-Man. And we were both like, all 4 seasons have been 1 year?
Yes. So that's why in the previous 2 episodes where we started alluding to how long has it been and what age is Jubilee, because you're like, oh, well, if she was 13 when it started, then she has to be like 14 or 15 now. That means the absolute oldest she can be is 14. Because if she started as a 13-year-old, let's say she started at that mall on January 2nd of that year, this means she's only been an X-Men for 1 calendar year.
And you know,
at most,
shouldn't be surprised especially because this was X-Men 92, right?
92.
Okay, now this doesn't make sense because the next one's in 97. So I guess we are going to have a time jump. I don't know.
Well, it's 97 because that is the year that the next season would have taken place.
But like,
not because of the real time.
I guess,
or because of the real time. Yeah.
I guess because X-Men 97 was titled the way it was, that put into my head that like each season was a consecutive year.
Fair.
You know, like 92, 93 and stuff. But it's just wild to think all this shit happened in a single year. Like all these, every single X-Men should be in therapy right now.
Yeah. But you also got to take, for a while, comic book time was, where every 1 year of comic book time encompassed 7 years of publishing.
Oh, wow.
That was the old thing, because I specifically remember when I started getting back into comics in the mid 2000s, they celebrated a bar mitzvah for The Thing as 13 years from when he went up into space with the Fantastic Four and became The Thing. So that was literally 13 years had happened over the course of more than, a half century, or at that point it would have been 40 something years.
Yeah.
It was wild.
That's weird. Yeah. Time dilation, man.
But that's why we get to cram in as much stuff, and you don't have to have a Christmas episode every year in a show like this.
I would have kind of liked that. Even not every year necessarily, but like a couple of them, just kind of see them evolve and stuff.
Yeah.
But then we cut away to Jean and Gambit in the kitchen arguing.
Yes.
I love this because even though it had to been unintentional, Jean is being a total Karen, and
she just does not want his help. I don't know why he's in there in the first place.
But I like that Gambit's like, do you not know what spice is? And so you have Jean, who's obviously a white woman. She's like, it's perfect. And it's like, well, there's this Cajun dude that says it doesn't taste like anything.
Right. He wants to add cayenne, and then because I didn't throw the captions on, I think he was saying thyme as the next thing he was adding to it or something like that. He's like, I'm just going to make this shit spicy and hurt.
Yeah, well, or even, I was even taking it as even if it's not hurtful spicy, so just something with spices other than maybe salt and pepper. Because everything he describes, that sounds good.
So he goes to pick up something off the counter, and she uses her telekinesis in the most spiteful way possible and just does not let him pick it up. And then this is where we have to be okay, maybe they weren't fully cooking it, because when it gets released, he slams into the oven and then a pot of water falls on top of him.
Yeah.
And it's oh, okay, must not have been boiling, because he would be in the worst pain ever.
Yeah, his face would be melting off.
Just like Alice in Borderland.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, there's face melting in the second season.
Makes sense. That's a Korean show, right?
Japanese.
So then we see Beast is in the lab making something. It looks like a lab experiment at first, but then he starts tasting it.
Well, he's also making references to an alcoholic drink.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know. What was
yeah. When he's giving his little a monologue, he's literally talking about, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was literally about a drink of some kind. And then he then specifies as he's tasting it that it is specifically not alcoholic.
Which is definitely a standard of
practice. Total. Well, especially after that quote, 100%.
And Storm and Xavier are watching some surveillance cameras.
Yeah, they're watching the cameras, and they're just oh, that's kind of creepy, but okay. And Xavier says how this is kind of his happiest Christmas right now. Storm is kind of distracted, and you don't really know why. And then all of a sudden there's an explosion. And it's wait, is somebody attacking on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, that's when we find out this is Christmas Eve. They give us the timeline. This is one of those moments that really works best when there is a commercial break.
Yes.
Because when it arrives directly back,
there's no suspense to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was that, I think there was even a musical swell. It was yeah.
Yep. And everybody's running. There's an explosion in Sector 9, which is Beast's quarters. And apparently he blew up as he was making some sort of cranberry glaze.
Yeah. And like you said before we were recording, how was he making it that exploded that much?
Also, I really don't want to bring the explosive cranberry glaze to Jean, who already doesn't want Gambit touching with spices, let alone explosive chemicals.
Well, that's why he's in the lab. He's it'll literally be easier to make arsenic than to cook with her.
He's just going to bring it out in a little gravy boat on the side. And people are just going to be what's that? It's bubbling and lighting on fire at the table.
Yeah. I love how excited Wolverine is.
Yeah, he's so genuinely disappointed when he finds out it's a false alarm.
Wait, is something happening?
So he's genuinely disappointed by all this. And then he basically says all this good cheer is driving him nuts. And that's when Jubilee is oh, we need to go out Christmas shopping, referring to her and Storm. And Wolverine's are you fucking insane?
On Christmas Eve?
Well, one, they're in Westchester. They're not in the city. And they want to go into Manhattan on Christmas Eve to shop. Also, I don't know where there's a mall like that in Manhattan, so that's a whole other issue.
Something with lots of skylights so they can break them.
Yeah, exactly. This is the one time where they're in an area with skylights that it doesn't just shatter them all.
Right. But I had my notes. I was I'm with Wolverine on this one.
Yeah.
Fucking because we live in Los Angeles and stuff. I was in a shopping center 4 days before Christmas. That was never again.
No.
I can't even imagine Christmas Eve.
The only advantage to Los Angeles is, for the most part, people abandon the city on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. But
you lock yourself down for 2 weeks, but most of us who've seen it, like, yeah.
But the malls are still like pretty busy.
A mall is stupid.
My only thinking I can think of like why they did it on Christmas Eve was that they didn't know that they would have the time off before. That's why everybody's like Xavier's like, oh, it's so nice to have this time off because there's no crisis happening currently.
Right. Well, they're also trimming the tree on Christmas Eve too, which, I mean, I've also heard about families doing that from a traditional perspective. Obviously, it's very different now because most people who set up trees are doing it like before Thanksgiving at this point. But I do remember that being a tradition in certain families for a while. Yeah.
Well, so, we were joking earlier that this is the final day of Christmas. So technically, if you're going, and correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody's listening that knows this, but from my understanding, the original Christmas thing was you would trim the tree on Christmas Eve on the 24th, have your Christmas celebrations for 12 days, and then you would take it down on January 6th.
Right.
And so trimming the tree on Christmas Eve made more sense when you're going to leave it up for like a week and a half.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
As opposed to most people like are literally ripping it down on like dinner Christmas Day.
Yeah. Or like my family's tradition was on Thanksgiving night, since everybody was already home anyway, we'd decorate the tree, put it up. And then
mandatory fun.
Yeah, mandatory fun. And then we'd take it down on New Year's Day.
Right.
That was just like a thing because we were all home from school and stuff.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it was like, why would you go to the mall on Christmas Eve?
Yeah. And then, Wolverine's obviously against it. Jubilee is like, but come on, I'm excited. I get to buy nice gifts for people. And that's where
she goes, come on, Wolfie.
Yeah. And she gives him the little gut punch on top of it of it's her first real family during Christmas. And it's like, fuck this fucking kid.
Yeah. She's like, you've defected at least 3 times this year alone. So
it's true. He actually has.
Yeah. So you owe me this.
Right off the top of her head, went up to the Arctic for some reason, Japan, and I'm sure he ran away another time.
Yeah,
when he was in the desert meditating.
Yeah, in Arizona. But then there was also the Alpha Flight stuff, right? So it's like he's like just randomly like left like maybe 3 to 4 times.
Yeah, in 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, or less than, because maybe this started in June, which truncates it even more.
Oh God.
So they end up in the mall. And then a woman decides that she needs to give Wolverine a spray of cologne, which I agree with his perspective on this. She sprays it directly in his face. And then I actually had a flashback to One Man's Worth between him and Storm, because he like literally is like rearing back like he's going to hit this woman. And Storm is like, Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, wait, was that like a little yeah.
They still have the same behavior.
Yeah.
And also for him, because we already know that his sense of smell is like very like animal.
Oh, yeah. So it has to be 10 times stronger.
Yeah, he has to be like dying. I do like, at least the times I've been in the mall, like the last few years or whatever, it's been less like that. But in the 90s, it was aggressive like that.
I've seen them be aggressive, but I've never actually seen them spray somebody without at least getting them to say yes first.
I haven't seen anybody get sprayed directly. I do remember when I was a kid, them spraying like in the air all over.
Oh, that still definitely happens.
That still happens?
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's just like, so.
Yep.
It all meshes together.
Yep. But Storm luckily saves that woman's life, even though she, of all people, probably doesn't deserve it. And they end up going to Rockefeller Center to skate.
Again, on Christmas Eve sounds ridiculous.
Awful. Absolutely awful. Sounds like the worst thing on the planet to do.
When I lived on the East Coast, we would go to Rockefeller on Christmas Day. And that actually, surprisingly, not too bad. I think it's because most people are home.
Right.
You can't necessarily skate because a shit ton of people want to skate.
Right.
But the center is pretty... like you can do it and you can go to a Broadway show and it's not crazy, but I feel like Christmas Eve is like a whole other.
So weirdly enough, in the past 2 years, there have been 3 comic book related things at Rockefeller Center for me. One being this episode here, one being Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And then in the recent Amazing Spider-Man Dark Web series, which is out right now, it's him, Iceman, and Firestar literally fighting a demonically possessed version of the Rockefeller tree.
Oh, wow. Oh,
there's a whole thing.
Okay, yeah. It's like, I'm not going to ask for an explanation on that. It sounds like a long story.
And then everybody gets mad when Iceman freezes the tree. But they're skating, and all of a sudden sirens pop off, and you could tell there's excitement from Wolverine because he literally says he could smell trouble.
Yeah. And you can't hear it.
We don't hear it yet until after he says that, and then the ambulance pops up, and then it goes through that overhang and ends up flying towards the ice with a bunch of people on it.
So you mentioned Hawkeye. To me, like this was very reminiscent of one of the scenes in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Where like a vehicle crashes into Rockefeller.
Not an ambulance, though.
Yeah, not an ambulance. And also the Hawkeye one, arguably one of the most horrific moments for me in the MCU was that
the owl.
The owl in that car, like that's horrible implications.
Yep. God, I'm so sad that they didn't give us that post-credit sequence and make it official.
Yeah.
But Storm is able to luckily not be skating and saves it by calling Wind, her go-to savior. And the ambulance lands across. Wolverine picks up Jubilee and skates over. I don't know why he picked her up, because she seemed to be skating fine herself.
Yeah, and he seemed to be the one having problems with anything.
I thought he was just like...
He was just grumpy.
He was just grumpy and going slow, and then a few kids almost like bumped into him. I don't think he had a problem skating, though. He is Canadian.
Yeah.
But I still don't know why he picked her up.
Yeah, I guess it's just like instinct.
So we find out that it's two of the Morlocks that are in the truck. Ape in particular is there. He's the driver. He rips off the back door and starts grabbing medicine. And Wolverine just goes like full on judgy as fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't realize from the last encounter how much Wolverine really hates the Morlocks, apparently.
He's a little racist. Because he calls them like filthy or something.
He talks about like gutter trash and smelling them and stuff. I was like, okay, damn. The cops are to arrive. Ape is trying to run with the medicine that he picked up. And, you know, he lets them know it's like, oh, Leech is sick. And that's when, if you hadn't remembered who Leech was, Jubilee gives you the helpful reminder of, oh, the little kid. Because, you know, some of these times, like, we don't know if somebody is small because of a mutant ability or power or what has affected them. But it's like, no, he's literally a kid.
Child, yeah.
I'm very sad in X3 that he was just a normal looking kid.
Yeah, that didn't have the telekinetic powers.
I was okay with him not having the telekinetic powers, because I'm pretty sure those don't exist in the comics either.
Yeah.
But basically, they tried to take Leech to a hospital, and you see some nurses tried to, you know, administer some sort of care to him, and it zapped them because Leech was literally leeching their energy.
Yeah.
And they get rejected from the hospital, which is really, really fucked up.
Yeah, that's harsh. But I guess at some point, like, he's causing more harm.
Then they actually say, like, well, Storm, like, where were you? You were supposed to be our leader during all this.
Valid.
Right. Because we haven't seen them in a while. Like, the last time we saw them was the Lady Deathstrike episode.
Yeah, it was with the basketball court thing, right?
Yeah.
The video call. And I think they said the same thing. They're like, where the fuck are you?
That's a direct quote from the show.
Yeah.
No, where the fuck are you? It's Leech saying it.
Yeah. Oh, he's really cute.
Where the fuck are you? Yeah, it goes over real well. Storm is able to distract the cops by, you know, putting some snow in place, and they all start to run towards the sewers, and Jubilee is like worried about the presents falling over.
Yeah, she was like, Storm's like, leave them, it's not important. And then she just stops and grabs them anyway.
And stacks them properly. And then one still falls off.
Yeah.
They start walking into the sewer. Jubilee is worried because it's 1 hour before dinner. How were you getting home from Rockefeller Center to Westchester if it was this close to Christmas dinner, regardless of the Morlock stuff?
Yeah, and we don't even know where the sewer thing is.
It's
in relation.
New York City. There's a lot of them.
Well, I mean, the Morlocks, like, portion of it.
I probably somewhere between Rockefeller and Grand Central. I think that, they want to be near the commerce.
It's funny because, like, normally I would be kind of critical of something like that, but this is kind of like the Hawkeye series that happened during Christmas. There's these little like Christmas special tropes. So they have to add like the ticking clock things. They're like 1 hour till dinner. It's like, okay, like now we got
They get to the area with all the Morlocks, and Callisto immediately snaps at Storm, which again, don't blame her.
Yeah.
Because let's assume that this happened in the first quarter of the year.
Yeah.
That means Storm has visited once since becoming the leader of the Morlocks.
And defeating Callisto.
Well, no, she defeated her in the first episode, and then she comes back when the Reavers attack them.
Yeah. But
so that's her only visit.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just the...
She's only been there twice.
Callisto specifically is probably extra butthurt.
You're not talking time frame. You're just talking about, like...
Because she got beat.
Yeah. Well, maybe she shouldn't have gotten beat with her shitty lightsaber fight. Right. And basically, she's like, is this Christmas charity that you're coming? And Storm gives her a little bit of a shutdown, like, I came here to help, so kind of shut your mouth.
Oh, yeah, she said, I don't deserve that. And I was like, you know, Storm, I love you. This is one of the times where I don't know if that's... She has a point.
Yeah.
So you deserve a little bit of it. Not right at this moment.
Not right now. You guys can fight after you've taken care of the sick kid.
Yeah, which is the point that Storm makes. She's like, we have to put our differences aside because this is happening. They're like, agreed, and they shake hands. You
see a little bit more of the tunnels, and you see, like, Rod and I both wrote this note down that they literally have the Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Which was the Charlie Brown tree? Was the ornament broken on it in the Charlie Brown version?
I don't think it was.
Yeah, because this one was not just the tree that's falling over with a single ornament, but it was like broken.
Yeah, because
a bauble as well.
Because they probably got it out of a dump, or Leech specifically got a dumpster or something.
Right.
Charlie Brown Christmas tree. No, it's not in a coffee can, and it doesn't have
Well, I knew it
broken.
wasn't in a coffee can.
But everything else is pretty much spot on. It's just like if you grab the Charlie Brown Christmas tree out of the garbage is what it looked like.
Right.
Which is extra sad.
Storm tells Wolverine to help because he has experience with field medicine. And at this point, Wolverine has not warmed up to the Morlocks yet.
Yeah.
And he goes over to help Leech and start, seeing what...
like, get him ready to move to the mansion.
Right. And Storm and Callisto start fighting. And Wolverine is basically like, shut up. We can't move him. It's too late to move him.
Oh, yeah. Because, right before that, he did this, like, uh-oh.
Yeah, he gave the Yeah.
His pulse is too low to travel. He probably won't survive it.
Right. So at that point, we meet Mariana. Any knowledge of Mariana as a character?
I don't know her from X-Men stuff. I remember as a kid, and you probably don't know what this is because this was a Kokomo, Indiana specific thing. She looks like a green version of what we called the We Care doll. So
Nope.
In Kokomo, there was this Christmas charity thing called We Care. It was an auction. They raised money for, like underprivileged people and stuff. And there was a doll called the We Care doll. Imagine Mariana, but with like Caucasian skin tone.
Okay.
It's a doll. And every year I got auctioned to a different person for an insane amount of money, or insane for that town amount of money. And growing up, we were told that this was like a one-of-a-kind thing that got passed around. And so every year it got a new owner, and it always raised a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward. So a year or two before the pandemic, my friend Romina, who does YouTube documentaries and stuff, did this documentary of like failed toy lines. And in it, she visited failed toys or some failed product museum, something in LA.
Yeah.
And in it was the We Care doll. And I was like, the We Care doll was in there? And then she covered it. Apparently, it was not a one-of-a-kind. It was an attempted line of toy dolls.
Like a Cabbage Patch Kid copycat or something?
Yeah, that failed. And so our little podunk town, someone got one of these or brought it and then like lied about it or something. I don't know.
That's
or maybe,
the best charity ever.
Or maybe it got miscommunicated or something.
No, they lied.
To my knowledge, that is still going now.
Never tell them.
Yeah, I don't... Also, any Kokomo friends listening to this, sorry, I don't know. It is wild, but that's the only reference I had to Mariana is that she looks... They just made her look like the dress, the eyes, and everything, her hair and stuff.
So, in the comics, Mariana as a Morlock does not exist.
Okay.
There is a reference to a character named Mariana Smallwood, who's actually Namor's wife at one point in the comics.
Oh.
And I think that's a little bit of like the fish-esque appearance because she has like scales. Yeah. She would like, become a full-fledged character of her own and then eventually transforms into a giant like creature and dies. So they're like, it's a really weird fucking character.
Oh, that's sad if that's the same girl then.
I didn't look up pictures on it, but who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
There you go. Stay tuned to our Instagram. I definitely felt like that they needed her to be, because they already had the kid we knew unconscious because he was the stakes.
Yes.
So they needed like another kid to be like the Christmas cheat code is little kids, right?
Right.
So like they needed a Christmas cheat code of like a little Timmy that wasn't sick to be in there. Like it's like God bless us, everyone. She's like super optimistic about everything.
That's what she looks like.
I can kind of see it,
but I don't know if I agree with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the red T-Rex you mentioned a couple episodes back.
Oh, Devil Dinosaur.
It's like
that one I'm more convinced of than this,
but it's still like just vague enough that it might not be. Like they could claim it wasn't.
Like the big eyes and everything like that.
That does sell it a little bit more. The eyes. Then that would kind of make.
Oh yeah, and she's with Puck.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah. Well,
okay, so maybe it is the same one.
Okay,
that's super sad.
Yep, that'll be shared on our Instagram if I remember.
But yeah, she's kind of the voice of hope for Jubilee because Jubilee is in her. I mean, even though she's not the victim of the circumstance, she's pretty traumatized by it because the beginning of the day started off as like her best Christmas ever.
Yeah, literally to the point of saying this is the first time she's actually had a family at Christmas.
Yeah, to being in the literal sewer of New York watching a child die.
Yeah.
Like within hours.
Right. Yeah, literally an hour ago, she was skating in Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
At that point, Jubilee kind of lets out the like innocent ask of, you can heal yourself. Can you heal others? And everybody kind of gives pause of like, wait, can he heal others?
I thought the same thing. I was like, is that a thing?
Right. So Wolverine initially pushes back really, really heavily and goes to saying it's impossible to maybe there's a chance. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of like one of those scenarios of like, oh, well, if it's a chance, you have to try no matter what.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do you mean there's a chance? And he says that he's failed before. The last time it was over 20 people. And
which, to be fair, that's a lot of blood to give. So
Yeah, but he replenishes stuff. But he also says that the last one was a kid. So we kind of also here get a direct reference to a kid dying, which, again, dark as shit for
Saturday morning cartoon
and a Christmas episode. But he does say that it has worked twice and once was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And legit, saying this because I don't know if we ever revisit it, I'm curious who those two are.
Right, yeah, that would be an interesting story to continue in X-Men 97.
Or flashback. If it's in the final episodes of this series.
I glanced over those to let Shawnee, who missed the last episode, know what she could pick. My guess is not, based on some of the titles. But Fair. Who knows? Maybe they could mention it.
No, unless it's in maybe the Old Soldiers episode, which I'm pontificating without saying anything more because I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't remember anything, but maybe.
We'll talk about that after the episode. So Storm orders them to get in touch with Beast and have Rogue fly him over. And then you get this moment where when Storm is trying to get everybody going, Wolverine drops the blame on her for not being there. She was supposed to be looking after the Morlocks. Mm-hmm. And she kind of has to take it. But she's like, but also, if this was your kid, would you still say no?
And because Wolverine's dilemma is probably he doesn't want to be the source of another failure.
Right.
But
because he's worried about what it's going to do to him if he fails. Because if you take it in the timeline of the episodes, he's also just come back from some pretty traumatic shit, regardless of if the Weapon X episode or the Japan episode happened first. Either way, he's in a better place.
Yeah. And so like that might be stealing some of his recovery from him.
But finally he concedes because that's what he does. He's not going to let an innocent person get hurt because he doesn't try to do something. Ape continues to be the comic relief of the episode and makes himself into a table.
I like that he's always like dumb as a bag of rocks.
He's so stupid. I love it, but he's so stupid.
And in here, he literally just becomes an inanimate object.
Yeah. It looks like a pretty nice table, to be candid. Yeah. Mariana asks Jubilee if she thinks Leech is going to be okay. And then Jubilee asks her if she believes in miracles. And then, like, the saddest line of the entire episode is Mariana doesn't even know what a miracle is.
Yeah, because they're just surviving in the sewers.
So Jubilee is like, well, maybe you're going to see one.
Mm-hmm. And I think you actually see, like, tears from Jubilee. Which
there was the light white outline as the way of animating the tears. Yeah, so it was like it was there, but it wasn't like super overt kind of thing.
Yeah.
Crash over to happy music in the kitchen.
Yeah, I think this is the next time we hear the Hark the Herald to the Deck the Halls.
Maybe. Yeah. And the kitchen continues to be a screaming match.
Yeah, I have here Karen Jean is yelling at Gambit for putting spice in her food. I guess we need to know some details to see the legitimacy of it. But in my head, it plays out that she made like raw chicken and just boiled it with a little bit of like a pinch of salt, and Gambit's like, can we have something with flavor in this?
Well, because he's coming from Louisiana where like spice is everything, and like
he's delicious.
But also we don't know if he's good at it. That's the piece we're missing.
I guess, yeah.
Because she's really defensive, and I feel like if somebody's good at something, you still let them do it, and just you make your own shit on the side. You don't let them touch your shit.
I guess if she was making all the main courses, he's like, I'm gonna have to eat this. So, I don't know.
Also, maybe he has horrible taste buds.
Yeah.
So they're screaming at each other, and I think we talked about their fight longer than they actually fought.
Yeah.
Xavier comes into the kitchen and he pulls a shut up everybody moment like Scott would, explains the situation, and then everybody instantly like goes into X-Men mode.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what can we do to help?
Yeah, which is really cool.
Because it's like, oh, our shit doesn't matter right now. Mm-hmm. Like, let's get past our own bullshit.
And then Gambit sneaks some cayenne pepper into the
That's why Gambit is like, yes, help them.
Yeah, let's help.
Back in the tunnels, they start doing the transfusion, and Mariana decides to show Jubilee around the tunnels, shows them the tree. Jubilee, she doesn't want to shit on Mariana's day, so she's like, yeah, it's the most beautiful tree. And you find out that Leech was the one who found it, probably with those same skills that he used to levitate the apples.
Telekinetic.
And then also found the dinner before the cold made him sick.
Yeah. So his actions in helping the Christmas thing.
Of helping the entire group of them. Because it sounds like he's one of the few that still makes it up topside.
Yeah.
He's like the scavenger of the group who's getting more of the stuff for them.
Yeah.
Probably because he's little, so he's easier to like sneak around. I mean, I've definitely almost run over children by walking in Times Square before. So they're just in the way. You just got to kick them really hard.
I have run into not just anybody that's remotely shorter than me in Manhattan, Times Square, or whatever. Cause
Seth Green. Mariana offers Jubilee food. Storm sees this and is like, well, Mariana asked you a question. Are you going to join them? And Jubilee, like, the way that you could talk around kids was like, how do they stay so happy and positive when they have nothing? Because she's young enough that, like, she's very young. She's got to be like 5-6 years old or something like that.
Because she still baby talks.
Yeah, she's still baby talking and around Jubilee, who's a 13-year-old who's literally double her height. You know, basically being like, what? They have nothing. And Storm gives her the kind of like check yourself moment of, no, they got each other. And for some people, that's literally all they need.
And ultimately, you know, the moral of a lot of these Christmas episodes or holiday episodes of things are that the reason you have like material things is to bring together your community, your family or whatever. So if you already have your family or community, like how important are the material things?
Yeah, especially because they're in a very communal, like, living space and stuff like that. Like these aren't people who don't get to see each other and spend time with each other, that they need to use exchanging gifts as the reason to see each other.
Yeah.
But they decide they need to go back and see how stuff is going. Everybody's kind of worried that it doesn't work because, you know, Wolverine gets up and Leech still hasn't moved. At that point, Beast does arrive and everybody kind of like gets on Beast's case.
Yelling at him.
And especially Callisto. And she's like, aren't you supposed to be a doctor?
Yeah.
And Beast, in the most respectful way, tells her to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, she's like, okay, Cyclops.
Which is ironic because she actually does have one eye.
I did not mean to make that joke. I make a lot of accidental pun jokes.
Yeah, you did. But yeah, he's like, you know, I can't predict the effects of Wolverine's blood. It's miraculous, but it's still an unknown. And then as that's happening, Leech starts blinking, which is really trippy because he doesn't have pupils.
Yeah.
So it's like, at first you weren't sure if he was conscious until the blinking happened because his eyes were open as he was laying there.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, so is he already dead? Because he has closed his eyes. Like,
yeah. But poor Leech, the first thing he sees is Beast's face, and it freaks him the fuck out, which Beast at least acknowledges.
Yeah, he's like, he said something like, I must not be the like most like comforting thing to see.
Yeah,
I kind of wonder what Leech was sick with. They never addressed it. That he was like unconscious.
I mean, it could just be like a really, really bad flu hitting somebody.
That's wild.
Yeah, like a pneumonia or something like that. Because I mean, I've had pneumonia before when I was younger, and like not like his age, but when I was probably in like my early 20s or something. Okay. And like I slept for like 3 days.
Oh, it takes you out. Like
it knocked me on my ass. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Wolverine is over by the tree and he's kind of doing the sad sack Wolverine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that in some like lesser known memes. That's screen grab.
It was definitely in a lot of our Instagram's feed because
Christmas.
Christmas, and then the fact that our Cyclops is waiting for me Instagram is following just a bunch of other people in this community.
Yeah.
So between the Leewalds, the X-Cast crew, Larry Houston, somebody posted that, and I'm pretty sure I reshared it. So at that point, Storm asks for the scepter, and Callisto's like, "Why?" And she's like, "You don't get to, you don't get to question that. I'm the leader. Give me the scepter and kneel." I was like, "Gonna fucking cut her head off or something like that." It's like the unhappiest Christmas ever.
I love that little turn or bait and switch or whatever Storm has. It's like, I'm going to be a bitch for just a second.
Yeah, she's like, I need to let this out right now because this is my last moment of power with Callisto. So Callisto kneels, and at that point, Storm basically says, as the leader of the Morlocks, I am relinquishing all claim, and Callisto is your rightful leader.
Am I remembering incorrectly that she tried this earlier and it didn't work?
Don't remember, to be totally honest.
Yeah, for some reason, maybe this is a false memory. Or the Weapon X training.
Yeah, your Weapon X training is backfiring.
But I thought that when Storm originally accidentally beat Callisto, she's like, oh, no, I don't want to be leader. And they're like, well, you have to be because you beat her in this
But
fight.
she didn't push back a second time on that.
Okay, maybe that was the thing.
She didn't make it like a decree. She was just like, I don't want it.
All right.
Yeah. I think that's the loophole.
Okay. So
it's like the Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
That show sucks ass.
Did you watch the show?
My mom made me watch it during Christmas. It is fucking awful.
That CG was wild.
Fuck the CG. Weird. The story was trash.
Without spoiling it.
Thank you, Disney Plus.
Yeah. Thanks for sponsoring us. If you loved the first Santa Claus movie,
Stop there.
yeah, well, this series undoes probably the things that you loved about the first movie. Not even just like how it executed, literal story points.
Yeah, it does have literal story points.
So just a forewarning out there. Also, Tim Allen puts really weird conservative points into the script where it doesn't need to be. Just random. Anyway.
But there's the League of Santas.
That was actually the most interesting part.
It's not good, but it's there.
No, it's not good, but I like that he was traveling through the Yuleverse and discovered Krampus. Like, I thought that was pretty funny.
Right. Wolverine, because now it's a little bit more of a positive moment, makes a joke about giving blood, which if you've ever given blood, they usually give you something to drink, which is orange juice and cookies to give you back your blood sugar.
It's so funny because I do remember that line.
Yeah.
And I didn't connect to the blood donation thing.
If you ever donate blood, you are almost always given sugary stuff to help you.
So funny thing, I don't know. I haven't tried since, and I probably can now. Growing up, I was never allowed to donate blood because my mother, when I was really young, had one of the hepatitis or whatever. And there was some, at the time, stipulation that if you're in a household with...
Oh, just from being in a household. Wow.
Yeah, with them, then you couldn't donate blood for X number of years.
Right.
And then anytime I would like...
Well, thankfully, you're old as fuck now.
Yeah, right. And also, I have like, I can't stand the sight of my own, any blood, let alone my own. And so even when I have to get blood drawn for like medical stuff, I tell them like, I know I'm like 40. I'm going to look away and you just tap me when you're done. Because I have to not know this is happening. Because I'll like vomit all over this place.
Perfect.
But I do want to, I think it's important. So in the past when I've tried, do and then, well, you know what, last time I tried, this was still a long time ago, so I should try. I hadn't lived with my parents for years, like a decade or whatever. Like, okay, finally I've cleared that time or whatever. And then I got there and they're like, you've had a tattoo in the last year. So now you can't do it. I was like, all right, well, this is just a sign because I have an aversion to it and they won't let me. So I just...
I'm just going to punch you in the face repeatedly and we're going to let it soak into a towel.
There you go. But anyway, so I think like I didn't connect that because
you've never gotten to that point.
I never got the orange juice and the cookie. I just always had to leave the donation center.
Right. But then Ape is also excited for it, which just proves that he's just the doofus of the episode.
Well, he was at table for like an hour.
But he didn't even have anything. He's like, I just want a cookie because they taste good.
Yeah. But he held up Wolverine.
Wolverine makes sure to thank Leech for making it, which I thought was Wolverine having a vulnerable moment, but it was the good kind of vulnerable, not like, oh, my world keeps shattering every other episode moment.
Yeah. Like he's actually on a good streak now.
Yeah, he made out with the girl in Japan and
probably more.
Merry Christmas. And then you get the moment between Storm and Wolverine where Storm actually apologizes to him for questioning him.
Yeah.
Because, obviously she didn't understand what he had gone through with seeing all those people that he failed. Callisto invites them all for dinner, which they gladly accept. And Jubilee starts opening up gifts and giving them out to the Morlocks, and she says half of these are food. I was really confused about how half of these are food.
I guess it's just like summer sausages and fruitcake or something. You know what I mean? Like those those little charcuterie boards.
Yeah, I never gave those as gifts ever in my life.
I only did as a child because they were just kind of conditioned in us, the kiosks of the mall and stuff. And then once I got old enough to realize like nobody wants this shit.
I mean, now I do.
Oh.
Because now I'm hungry again.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pepperidge Farm thing. Yeah, I guess that just wasn't in our, the Italian family. We never did that.
But it's funny.
Because I picture Italian food, which should not be sitting in a box to be transported. And
it's funny because I specifically remember Jubilee at the beginning of the episode when she had her stack of gifts. She was like, should we get some food? We should get some food. And it's like, oh, they left that note in there so that later it would make sense that she had food in the things, but also why are they wrapped?
So remember how we had a fight about what Chekhov's gun is?
Oh yeah,
that's actually Chekhov's gun, Rob.
Chekhov's Yule log?
No, stop it. You were so close. You were there, and then you just lit it on fire like it's a tree in Rockefeller Center.
Demon possessed.
Yeah,
but then they open the presents and there's not food.
Well, we don't see all the presents get open, but I did have the question, who was she buying the toy plane for that Leech was holding?
So I'm putting this together in my head because she said they were nice gifts. So we're going to assume it was not a cheap toy plane, right?
Okay.
Was it Xavier? These vintage toys? Was it for Wolverine?
Wasn't for Wolverine. Okay.
I don't know.
You know what? The actual, was it a vintage model or something like that?
I don't know.
Or a remote control plane for Gambit? Because I could see a 13-year-old being like, Gambit would like a remote control plane.
That is true. I didn't think about that. As kids, you only think things through your perspective of what, Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was something else too that was clearly a little kid's toy. It was like the generic like iconography of what toys are at Christmas. I forget what it was, maybe a train or something.
I don't even remember, to be honest.
But yeah, I remember the plane. It's kind of like in Christmas Story, like, whoa, a Zeppelin. Like, yeah, just an 8-year-old would like that, but that's about it.
8-year-olds don't even like Zeppelins.
No, not now.
Yeah. And there's like the little bit of back and forth and, Storm and Jubilee where, she says how proud of her she is. And it's like, it's probably her most memorable Christmas ever, even if it wasn't what she had planned. And then you get one last moment with Gambit, who's so angry because he made this massive amount of food and nobody's there to eat it. It's literally 4 of them at the mansion.
So this is hilarious because this kind of is the same beef I had with the end of Home Alone 2. Do you remember the end of Home Alone 2?
It's been forever, to be honest.
You know the bird lady?
Yeah.
They're at this 5-star hotel, and they he's ordered like $1,000 worth of room service or something like that.
Easily.
And
room service right outside of Central Park, easily $1,000.
And then the owner of that toy store ends up getting them all these gifts and like a huge meal and stuff. And so he's like, I got to do one more thing. And he has those Christmas ornaments the toy store owner gave him, the 2 turtle doves. And he's like, the other one needs to go to a good friend. So he runs back to the park to the bird lady and gives her the ornament.
But not the food.
And at the end, it's like, invite the lady to dinner.
Yeah.
She's clearly unhoused in New York during December. And he just runs back to the hotel. So in this one way or the other, either I can see the argument of Leech can't travel because he's healed, but he's maybe still too sick.
I agree. You should not try to move the Morlocks because Leech is recovering.
Yeah, maybe. Or take all that fucking food or some of it or something.
Rogue made it back and forth pretty quickly and could carry a lot of shit in Tupperware.
And they also have like jets and Blackbird.
Okay, Rod, how are you going to land a jet in New York City?
They've done it before.
Not in the middle of Manhattan. They haven't.
I mean, an ambulance crash in Rockefeller. That's already a clear landing pad. It's probably already a crime scene. Either way, it's like he's like, there's none of this food or whatever. Nobody's going to eat this food. It's like,
but then there's a great line: Gambit don't make TV dinners.
Now, I felt like that was cemented it in the 90s.
TV dinners?
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Because I know we have frozen food now.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe to people who didn't, anybody who didn't live through it. Like, we had like TV dinners. It's like kind of a different thing.
Well, it was the fact that we would literally pull out the TV tray. So you would eat on your couch while watching TV. I think the shift is now people can make the argument to go and sit at the kitchen table because you're on your phone and you're not watching TV.
Okay. Well, it was just a different vibe of the meal, though, because it was in that weird like paper tray with like the
that still exists, though.
But like it was a different type. Like they're some of them are a little nicer now and stuff. I think the closest is like Kid Cuisine might still be around.
I feel like because I've definitely seen it in the freezer section. I feel like Kid Cuisine has not changed in 35 years.
Okay, I haven't tried it yet.
I haven't tried it either, but I've definitely seen it.
So that if anybody's still like wants to know a reference that hasn't seen it, like it's probably the closest I could think of because this is like this vibe. Like there's a bunch of stuff that shouldn't cook well together that they just put in a tray anyway.
Yeah.
And it's in this weird like wax paper tray thing, and like you said with the I remember my TV trays with Thundercats.
That was yours specifically.
My TV tray, yeah.
I can't remember what mine were, but we definitely had like individual ones, and then at one point we had like the ones that multiple matching ones,
and it was they were on the rack. Yeah, and I don't know why there was a specific smell to it too,
because of the like the tin or the aluminum or whatever it was,
maybe preservatives or whatever, and like I think TV.
Oh, that's called the cancer.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yo. You want to hear? So my mom, when she first moved to the States, she worked at like a food packing plant.
Thank God your parents don't listen to this show.
No, she would love this story to get out.
Okay.
Because she tells the people all the time. So when I was a kid, we get TV dinners all the time because even though it smelled weird, now thinking as an adult, I can still remember the smell. But as a kid, I remember it smelling good. I always begged my mom for like not just Kid Cuisines, but any TV dinner and like Salisbury steak or something. And my mom was like, no, because she used to work at one of those places. And she was like, we were packing the food and then just people sweat directly into it. She's like, whoop. And then you just put plastic on it and send it out. As an adult, I'd look back like, yeah, I'm never going to eat one of those. As a kid, I was like, I don't care. I want my Kid Cuisine.
But microwaves saved us. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah. So my mom's whole thing was like, I watched me and my other coworkers literally sweat into the food trays because they're hovering over it while they're packing it.
Well, I know what our bonus reel for Instagram is going to be. Just tell me which specific factory to not use an image of.
Yeah, I can't remember where she worked. Merry Christmas.
And then the final moments of the episode is Jubilee talking to Professor X, and she wants to make sure that they don't feel bad that she's not there, that she doesn't want to be there with them. And Professor gives the expected answer of he completely understands and hearing her do this is the best gift he could have asked for.
Yeah.
And then we get the pan out to the outside, Merry Christmas from the X-Men. Yeah. Which we did share on our Instagram. I know that one. I definitely shared on Christmas Day. So
really sweet. Also, Professor Xavier's probably thankful. He's like, this is probably the one day that year that no one was in crisis.
Except Leech.
But I mean, like the X-Men, like
his own team.
Well, the end of the day was like, all right, no one's dying, defected to Japan, Canada.
He's actually just hoping that Jean is going to knock out Gambit and then it'll be quiet.
Yeah. It's like Jean's not dying from some space radiation thing.
I do love that for the most part, Scott has avoided the kitchen because he's like, I don't want to deal with this shit.
Did he say anything in this episode?
I think, well, he does the horrible singing and then he calls Wolverine a grump.
Oh, that beginning part.
Or no, he says that he hates fun. Specifically that Wolverine hates fun. And then I believe when they're arguing the second time, he's in there.
I know he's in there. I couldn't remember what he said. But I guess, after that, he just checks out. Like, he's not really there.
I mean, if she's going off and she's a psychic, do you really want her to read your thoughts right now?
Yeah, he's
like, nope.
He like steps back.
Nope. He's like, yep, love you, bye.
Yeah.
Because he's not lying. He's just getting the fuck out of it.
Then he like walks by Gambit. He's like, don't tell her, but just sneak me some shit later.
And then his head explodes. We hit most of the stuff during the episode. One of the things Eric does really specifically like about this episode was that Jubilee, as a foster child, is having her first real Christmas, and he was very happy that got to be a part of it. The part that he acknowledges that he dislikes is it was a lot of stuff very over the top. This is also one of the episodes where he's a co-writing credit on it, and that is a sign that the episode was troubled from the start.
Oh no.
Yeah. And he actually says, the other writer, he's like, don't blame them. They were just taking what we gave them and running with it. Uh-huh. But that's a part of it. I still think in the grand scheme of all the episodes, to say this is the worst one, I think is a miss. I definitely don't think this is the worst one.
I mean, I guess if you don't like Christmas stuff or like holiday stuff, maybe, but
I hate anything with cheer.
But children dying.
Not saying anything because that would be clipped out of context somehow. No, I mean, I legit like this. I wish we had thought about it sooner.
Right.
And it went live around Christmas, but fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, we did need to watch the episodes before this because it actually makes the Wolverine story better.
Thing, yeah.
And even if that was not intentional with all the stuff that had previously happened on it, and it just was the coincidence of that's where it fell from a like holiday and timeline perspective, I was okay with it.
Yeah. So happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Oh, God damn it, Rob. Thank you guys for joining us. And if you have any thoughts, make sure to drop them into the comments of the YouTube upload, the official Instagram post, or fight about it in TikTok. I'm going to start jumping into TikTok, telling Rod what to say, and then cause more chaos. If you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on the podcast app of your choosing. Since this is Christmas, give us a 5-star, please. I think we actually have a 5-star average right now.
Nice.
We don't have a ton of reviews, but I think everybody has actually given us a 5-star. So thank you guys for that. That is the way that you raise to the top in Apple specifically, is having positive ratings. You can find us there, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Castbox. Merry fucking Christmas, you Grampus motherfucker.